The Book of the Secrets of Enoch, Chapter 36. God accompanied Enoch to live on earth 30 days to give instruction to his sons and to his children's children. After 30 days, he was again taken on to heaven. Now, this is 3 verses. In the Enochian system, the Sigillium Die Ameth has this, the daughters, the sons, the daughters of daughters, and the sons of sons thing. It's same type of metaphor. You can tell, obviously, by the description that this stuff's not literal. Now, Enoch, I give thee the term of 30 days to spend in thy house, and tell thy sons and all thy household, that all may hear from my face what is told them by thee, that they may read and understand how there is no other God but me, and that they always keep my commandments, and begin to read and take in the books of thy handwriting. And after 30 days I shall send an angel for thee, and he will take thee from the earth and from thy sons to me. And one of the things about that we can tie in is not exactly the verses themselves, but the angel worship, as in taking the angels to be gods. The original and subsequent Enochian material kind of tells you what happens there. And some of the stories about people worshiping Jesus and some things that come to him. So it doesn't matter what creation you worship, it can give the demons control over you. So that's something to have in mind. Chapter 37. Here God summons an angel. And again, some of these accounts refer not to that we're not summoning angels. Perhaps they're attracted by our good deeds or something, but we're not, this is talking about the heavenly interaction, right? And this is 2 verses. And the Lord, I presume the name Yahweh, so God is a noun and verb. Lord does not really translate as that. Called up one of the older angels, terrible and menacing, and placed him by me in appearance, white as snow, and his hands like ice, having the appearance of great frost. And he froze my face, because I could not endure the cause. I could not endure the terror of the Lord, just as it is not possible to endure a stove's fire, and the sun's heat, and the frost of the air. And the Lord said to me, Enoch, if thy face be not frozen here, no man will be able to behold thy face. Chapter 38. Methuselah continued to have hope and to await his father Enoch at his couch day and night. 3 verses. And the Lord said to those men who first led me up, let Enoch go down on to the earth with you, and await him till the determined day. And they placed me by night on my couch. And Methuselah, expecting my coming, keeping watch by day and by night at my couch, was filled with awe when he heard my coming. And I told him, let all my household come together, that I will tell them everything. Chapter 39. Enoch's pitiful admonition to his sons with weeping and great lamentation as he spoke to them. O my children, my beloved ones, hear the admonition of your father, as much is according to the Lord's will. And I have let come to you today, and announce to you, not from my lips, but from the Lord's lips, all that is and was, and all that is now, and that will be till judgment day. For the Lord has let me come to you. You hear, therefore, the words of my lips, but I am one who has seen the Lord's face like iron made to glow from the fire, and it sends forth sparks and burns. Did I say this is 8 verses? You look now upon my eyes, the eyes of a man, big, with meaning for you. But I have seen the Lord's eyes shining like the sun's rays and filling the eyes of man with awe. You see now, my children, the right hand of a man that helps you, but I have seen the Lord's right hand, filling heaven as he helped me. You see the compass of my work like your own, but I have seen the Lord's limitless and perfect compass, which has no end. You hear the words of my lips, as I heard the words of the Lord, like great thunder, incessantly with hurling of clouds. And now, my children, hear the discourse of the Father of the earth, how fearful and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of earth. How much more terrible and awful it is to come before the face of the ruler of heaven, the controller of the quick and the dead, and of the heavenly troops who can endure that endless pain. 40. Enoch admonishes his children, truly of all things from the Lord's lips, how he saw and heard and wrote down. 11 verses. And now, my children, I know all things, for this is from the Lord's lips, and this my eyes have seen from beginning to end. I know all things, and have written all things into books, the heavens and their end, and their plentitude, and all the armies and their marchings. I have measured and described the stars, the great countless multitude of them. What man has seen their revolutions and their entrances? For not even the angels see their number. Well, I have written all their names, and I measured the sun's circle, and measured its rays, counted the hours. I wrote down, too, all things that go over the earth. I have written the things that are nourished, and all seed sown and unsown, which the earth produces, and all plants, and every grass, and every flower, and their sweet smells, and their names, and their dwelling places, of the clouds, and their composition, and their wings, and how they bear rain, and raindrops. And I investigated all things, and wrote the road of the thunder, and of the lightning. And they showed me the keys, and their guardians, their rise, the way they go. It is let out in measure, gently, by a chain, lest by heavy chain and violence it hurl down the angry clouds and destroy all things on earth. I wrote the treasure houses of the snow, and the storehouses of the cold, and the frosty airs, and I observe their season's keyholder. He fills the clouds with them, and does not exhaust the treasure houses. And I wrote the resting places of the winds, and observed and saw how their keyholders bear weighing scales and measures. First they put them in one weighing scale, then in the other, the weights, and let them out according to the measure cunningly, over the whole earth, lest by heavy breathing they make the earth to rock. And I measured out the whole earth and its mountains, and all hills, fields, trees, stones, rivers, all existing things I wrote down, the height from earth to the seventh heaven, and downwards to the very lowest hell, and the judgment place, and the very great open and weeping hell. And I saw how the prisoners are in pain, expecting the limitless judgment. And I wrote down all those being judged by the judge, and all their judgments, sentences, and all their works. That was 11 verses. 41 of how Enoch lamented Adam's sin. 3 verses. And I saw all forefathers from all time with Adam and Hawa. And I sighed and broke into tears and said of the ruin of their dishonor, woe is me for my infirmity, and for that of my forefathers. And thought in my heart, and said, blessed is the man who has not been born, or who has been born, and shall not sin before the Lord's face, that he come not into this place, nor bring the yoke of this place. 42. Of how Enoch saw the key holders and guards of the gates of hell standing. I saw the key holders and the guards of the gates of hell standing, like great serpents, and their faces like extinguished lamps, and their eyes of fire, and their sharp teeth. And I saw all the Lord's works, how they are right, while the works of man are some good and others bad. And in their works are known those who lie evilly. (43) Enoch shows his children how he measured and wrote out God's judgments. 2 verses. I, my children, measured and wrote out every work and every measure and every righteous judgment. As 1 year is more honorable than another, so is one man more honorable than another. Some for great possessions, some for wisdom of heart, some for particular intellect, some for cunning, one for silence of lip, another for cleanness, one for strength, another for comeliness, one for youth, another for sharp wit, one for shape of body, another for sensibility. Let it be heard everywhere. But there is none better than he who fears God. He shall be more glorious in time to come. And we have a facsimile page of the Gutenberg Bible shown here. So it's an actual page of the Gutenberg Bible, one of the pages owned by Alpha House Incorporated, the research publishers. The first successful printing was done in 1450 of the Common Era, where the Gutenberg printed the Old Testament in Latin. There are about 45 copies of the precious Gutenberg Bible in existence that have survived the chances of Europe and its wars for 500 years. And, well, there are religious texts that were printed before that, but you understand for certain political and theological reasons, Europe was rather behind in a lot of things. 44. Enoch instructs his sons that they revile not the face of man, small or great. 3 verses. The Lord with his hands, having created man, in the likeness of his own face, the Lord made him small and great. Whoever reviles the ruler's face and abhors the Lord's face has despised the Lord's face, and he who vents anger on any man without injury, the Lord's great anger will cut him down. Who spits on the face of man reproachfully will be cut down at the Lord's great judgment. Blessed is the man who does not direct his heart with malice against any man, and helps the injured and condemned. So, when you're condemning the evil and ignorance of somebody, it's not that you're doing that out of hate or something. In fact, it'd be hateful to just, leave certain people, whatever. And it's not good for other people, most of these people, but, And raises the broken down, and shall do charity to the needy, because the day of the great judgment, every weight, every measure, every make weight will be as in the market. That is to say, they are hung on scales, and stand in the market, and every one shall learn his own measure, and according to his measure shall take his reward. Chapter 45. God shows how he does not want from men sacrifices nor burnt offerings, but pure and contrite hearts. 3 verses. Well, if you notice from what it says about Isaiah and what it says about Jesus, it's not that they were ending those things. These things were just expressions of a contrite heart, because God would accept, the obedience, right? Whoever hastens to make offering before the Lord's face, increasing existence is a way to translate it, rather than Lord, which isn't accurate. The Lord, for his part, will hasten that offering for granting of his work. But whoever increases his lamp before the Lord's face, and make not true judgment, the Lord will not increase his treasure in the realms of the highest. When the Lord demands bread, or candles, or the flesh of cattle, or of any other sacrifice, then that is nothing. But God demands pure hearts, and with all that only tests the heart of man. Now, without going over the whole list, compare how the rules for the sacrifices of animals, how that applies to the whole Jesus thing. It's got to be lawful to eat animal, humanely slaughtered, in the name of God, if not a whole formula recited, paid for and or at least touched via the people that are hoping their sins to be forgiven through that. Well, I'll stop there, but 46, of how an earthly ruler does not accept from man abominable unclean gifts, and how much more does God abominate unclean gifts, but sends them away with wrath, and does not accept his gifts. 4 verses. Hear, my people, and take in the words of my lips. If any one bring any gifts to an earthly ruler, and have disloyal thoughts in his heart, and the ruler know this, will he not be angry with him, and not refuse his gifts, and not give him over to judgment? Or if one man make himself appear good to another by deceit of tongue, but have evil in his heart, then will not the other understand the treachery of his heart, and himself be condemned, since his untruth was plain to all? And when the Lord shall send a great light, then there will be judgment for the just and the unjust, and there is no one that shall escape notice. 47. Enoch instructs his sons from God's lips, and hands them the handwriting of this book. 6 verses. And now, my children, lay thought on your hearts. Mark well the words of your father, which are all come to you from the Lord's lips. Take these books of your father's handwriting and read them, for the books are many, and in them you will learn all the Lord's works, all that has been from the beginning of creation, and will be till the end of time. And if you will observe my handwriting, you will not sin against the Lord, because there is no other except the Lord, neither in heaven, nor on earth, nor in the very lowest places, nor in the one foundation. The Lord has placed the foundations of the unknown, and has spread forth heavens, visible and invisible. He fixed the earth on the waters, and created countless creatures, and it was counted the water, and the foundation of the unfixed, or the dust of the earth, or the sand of the sea, or the drops of rain, or the morning dew, or the wind's breathings. Who has filled earth and sea, and the indissoluble winter? I cut the stars out of fire, and decorated heaven, and put it in their midst. 48. Of the sun's passage along the 7 circles, 8 verses. That the sun go along the 7 heavenly circles, which are the appointment of 182 thrones, that it go down on a short day, and again in 182. What's important is the number 182, but 8 verses here. That it go down on a big day, and he has 2 thrones, on which he resets, revolving hither and thither above the thrones of the months, from the 17th day of the month to Sivan, and it goes down to the month Thivan. From the 17th of Thivan it goes up, and thus it goes close to the earth. Then the earth is glad, and makes grow its fruit. Where it goes away, then the earth is sad, and trees and all fruits have no florescence. All this he measured with good measurement of hours, and fixed a measure by his wisdom of the visible and the invisible. From the invisible he made all things visible, himself being invisible. Thus I made known to you, my children, and distribute the books to your children, and to all your generations amongst the nations who have the sense to fear God, and let him receive them. And may they come to love them more than any food or earthly sweets, and read them and apply themselves to them. And those who understand not the Lord, who fear not God, who accept not, but reject, who do not receive them, the books, a terrible judgment awaits these. Blessed is the man who shall bear their yoke, and shall drag them along, for he shall be released on the day of the great judgment. 49. Enoch instructs his sons not to swear either by heaven or earth, and shows God's promise, even in the mother's womb. 5 verses. I swear to you, my children, but I swear not by any oath, neither by heaven nor by earth, nor by any other creature which God created. The Lord said, there is no oath in me, nor injustice, but truth. There is no truth in men. Let them swear by the words yea, yea, or else nay, nay. And I swear to you, yea, that there has been no man in his mother's womb, but that already before, even to each one, there's a place prepared for the repose of that soul, and a measure fixed, how much it is intended that if the man be tried in this world, yea, children, deceive not yourselves, for it has been previously prepared a place for every soul of man. So much nowadays. It's like people should virtually never have to swear to anything, because only the bad people, it's like if people should be held to a standard of honesty. The main reason that people have for trying to get people to swear is they have certain sociopathic or psychopathic motivations. It's not about some political party or something. Oh, I can't, or your own personal taste. It's about good and truth. And of course, you can kind of mold yourself towards good and truth, can't you? 50. Of how none born on earth can remain hidden, nor his work remain concealed, but he, God's not male here, bids us to be meek, to endure attack and insult, and not to offend widows and orphans. I have put every man's work in writing, and none born on earth can remain hidden, nor his works remain concealed. You know, just because there's predestination doesn't mean that we still don't have choices of what to do with those opportunities that God already knows what choices we're going to make. I see all things. Now therefore, my children, in patience and meekness, spend the number of your days, that you inherit endless life. Endure for the sake of the Lord. Establishing. It's better translation of Yahweh, but every wound, every injury, every evil word and attack, if ill requitals befall you, return them not, either to neighbor or enemy, because the Lord will return them for you, and be your avenger on the day of great judgment, that there be no avenging here among men. Whoever of you spends gold or silver for his brother's sake, he will receive ample treasure in the world to come. Injure not widows, nor orphans, nor strangers, lest God's wrath come upon you. 51. Enoch instructs his sons that they hide not treasures in the earth, but bids them give alms to the poor. So 6 verses here. Stretch out your hands to the poor according to your strength. Hide not your silver in the earth. Help the faithful man in affliction, and affliction will not find you in the time of your trouble. And every grievous and cruel yoke that come upon you, bear all for the sake of the Lord, and thus you will find your reward in the day of judgment. It is good to go morning, midday, and evening into the Lord's dwelling for the glory of your Creator, because every breathing thing glorifies him, and every creature, visible and invisible, returns him praise. 52, God instructs his faithful how they are to praise his name. 15 verses. Blessed is the man who opens his lips in praise of God of Sabaoth. Divinity, is it Elohim Spout that they're trying to render here? And praises the Lord with his heart. Cursed every man who opens his lips for the bringing into contempt and calumny of his neighbor, because he brings God into contempt. Because blessed is he who opens his lips, blessing and praising God. And God's way, too, these people are turning against actual theocracy, turn against something that was done by certain Christian kingdoms or the Saudis or whoever, but, not God's kingdom. Cursed is he before the Lord all the days of his life who opens his lips to curse and abuse. Blessed is he who blesses all the Lord's works. Cursed is he who brings the Lord's creation into contempt. Blessed is he who looks down and raises the fallen. Cursed is he who looks to and is eager for the destruction of what is not his. Blessed is he who keeps the foundations of his fathers made firm from the beginning. Cursed is he who perverts the decrees of his forefathers. Blessed is he who implants peace and love. Well, in the child stage, one of the things that we need to do, mother stage, father stage, child stage, child stage being puberty. You don't pervert the commands of your ancestors. It's just not all of them are necessarily right? Cursed is he who disturbs those that love their neighbors. Blessed is he who speaks with humble tongue and heart to all. Cursed is he who speaks peace with his tongue, while in his heart there is no peace, but a sword. Like the people that are all bless your heart and saying Jesus loves you in an angry way and all that sort of stuff. For all these things will be laid bare in the weighing scales and in the books on the day of the great judgment. Chapter 53, let us not say our Father is before God. He will stand forward for us on the day of judgment. For there neither father can help son, nor yet son father. 3 verses. And that would seem to stand against the Christian doctrine, so they didn't need any more of that in the Bible, right? I mean, the people composing the Bible would have thought such things, but... And now, my children, do not say our Father is standing before God and is praying for our sins, for there is no helper of any man who has sinned. You see how I wrote all the works of every man before his creation, all that is done amongst all men for all time, and none can tell or relate my handwriting. Because the Lord sees all the imaginings of man, how they are vain, where they lie in the treasure houses of the heart. And now, my children, mark well all the words of your father that I tell you, lest you regret, saying, why did our father not tell us? 54. Enoch instructs his sons that they should hand the books to others also. And out of convenience, I'm saying Enoch, but Chanuk is really how you would render that. Chanuk. Cheth. Noon. Wow. Calf, At that time, not understanding this, let these books which I have given you be for an inheritance of your peace. Hand them to all who want them, and instruct them that they may see the Lord's very great and marvelous works. Chapter 55. Here Enoch shows his sons, telling them with tears, my children, the hour has approached for me to go up onto heaven. Behold, the angels are standing before me. 4 verses. My children, behold, the day of my term and the time have approached. For the angels who shall go with me are standing before me and urge me to my departure from you, and are standing here on earth, awaiting what has been told them. For tomorrow I shall go up on to heaven, to the uppermost Jerusalem, to my eternal inheritance. Therefore I bid you do before the Lord's face all his good pleasure. 61. Methuselah asked of his father blessing, that he, Methuselah, may make him, Enoch, food to eat. Methuselah, having answered his father Enoch, said, what is agreeable to thy eyes, Father, that I may make before thy face, and thou mayest bless our dwellings, and thy sons, and that thy people may be made glorious through thee, and then that thou mayest depart thus. As the Lord said, Enoch answered to his son Methuselah, and said, hear, child, from the time when the Lord anointed me with his anointment of glory, and there has been no food in me, and my soul remembers not earthly enjoyment, neither do I want anything earthly. 57, 2 verses also. Enoch bade his son Methuselah to summon all his brethren. My child Methuselah, summon all thy brethren and all your household, and the elders of the people, that I may talk to them, and depart as planned for me. And Methuselah made haste, and summoned his brethren, Regem, Rimmon, Ucan, Charmian, Gaidad, and all the elders of the people before the face of his father Enoch. And he blessed them, and said unto them, 58. Enoch's instruction to his sons. Listen to me, my children, this day. Today. 7 verses. In those days when the Lord came down onto earth for Adam's sake and visited all his creatures, which he created himself, after all these he created Adam. And the Lord called all the beasts of the earth, all the reptiles, and all the birds that soar in the air, and brought them all before the face of our father Adam. And Adam gave the names to all things living on earth. And the Lord appointed him ruler over all, and subjected to him all things under his hands, and made them dumb, and made them dull, that they may be commanded of men, and be in subjection and obedience to him. Thus also the Lord created every man lord over all his possessions. The Lord will not judge a single soul of beast for man's sake, but judges the souls of men to their beasts in this world. For men have a special place, and as every soul of man is according to number, similarly beasts will not perish, nor all souls of beasts which the Lord created, till the great judgment, and they will accuse man if he feed them ill. 59. Enoch instructs his sons, wherefore they may not touch beef, because of what comes from it. That's a interesting one. Whosoever defiles the soul of beasts defiles his own soul, for man brings clean animals to make sacrifice for sin, that he may have cure of his soul. And if they bring animals for sacrifice clean animals and birds, man has cure and cures his soul. All is given you for food. Bind it by the 4 feet, that is to make good the cure. He cures his soul. But whoever kills beasts without wounds kills his own soul and defiles his own flesh. And he who does any beast any injury, whatsoever in secret, it is evil practice, and he defiles his own soul. Well, wounds could mean that the animal's... you wound the animal when you kill it, but... if some animal just has wounds, you can get sick like a... 60. He who works the killing of a man's soul kills his own soul and kills his own body, and there's no cure for him for all time. He who puts a man in any snare shall stick it in himself, and there is no cure for him all the time. He who puts a man in any vessel, his retribution will not be wanting at the great judgment for all time. He who works crookedly or speaks evil against any soul will not make justice for himself all time. So the comment here, he who does injury to the soul of man does injury to his own soul, and there is no cure for his flesh, nor pardon for all time. How is it not fitting to kill man, neither by weapon nor by tongue? Now, I would say that some degree of humaneness should be part of the execution process, but